From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Trump could soon turn up the heat with more tariffs, but now it's timing that's key. As the feud over the Farm Bill continues, one crop is stealing the spotlight.
I mean, there are guys that are really hoping to save their 4 or 5 generation farms because of this crop.
And it's high hopes for him. In agribusiness, the long-term impact of trade fallout.
Those sorts of things change the dynamics of the way the market will operate into the future.
And it's the crops edition of Cops, as this combine rushes in to track down a man on the run.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Tyne Morgan in for Clinton Griffiths. The U.S. could be on the verge of an escalating trade battle. President Donald Trump announcing last night tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese products. Those tariffs coming at a lower rate of 10% versus the previously suggested 25%. However, the tariffs will jump to 25% once 2019 hits. Now, many members of Congress have been urging the president to back away from such a strong stance on China as the fallout is being felt on farms. The tariffs will be implemented on September 24th. Farm Journal Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer says timing is key.
The last time we had the announcement of tariffs, it took just shy of 3 weeks for them to actually be implemented. Now, that could be good news if in the interim time, U.S. and Chinese trade officials meet. However, there is some reports from both the U.S. and China that China's top officials are rethinking whether or not they want to send officials over here to this country for talks because of the acceleration in tariffs.
Wiesmeyer says if announced, this is the president's way of keeping the pressure on China. But the Global Times, which is a publication run by the Communist Party, says China will not be content to only playing defense in an escalating trade war. Well, as trade tensions grow, farmers and ranchers on the front lines are questioning when they'll see the aid and how much more tariff relief is on the way. USDA now saying the next round of tariff aid could be announced in December. The U.S. Department of Agriculture said in a white paper late last week that a second round of tariff-related aid could be announced later this year. That aid could account for the struggling basis some farmers are seeing, especially in the northern plains. USDA saying it could also account for other factors like market conditions that have mitigated some of the trade damage. We asked National Pork Producers Council and National Cotton Council about the first round of aid and how much of relief it'll really provide.
We all said the same thing. You know, we'd rather have trade than aid, but I don't have anybody. Nobody's going to probably turn it away. We felt like that we were acknowledged, that we were at the blunt of the spear. We were the first ones to take the tariffs back in April when China put it on. We were the first ones to take it. Mexico came along, and then they did a double whammy on us to put the 2 tariffs on us. We've had several tariffs from China, so it was a good acknowledgement that pork has been the leader of the spear poking in and all the way through and taking the blunt of the trade tariffs. So
the tariff aid payments will provide welcome relief for producers and will partially offset the tariff impacts until better trade relationships can be restored and improved. The aid will not completely fill the gap if the tariff and trade tensions continue for an extended period. Some producers may find it less effective due to the payment limit.
Also in Washington, it's a race against the calendar for the Farm Bill. And as each day passes, it becomes more likely we'll see an extension of the 2014 Farm Bill. While leaders are still working toward a bill that can pass both chambers, the House is out of session all week. But the biggest hurdle remains over SNAP, or what used to be called food stamps, as key conference committee members have yet to reach a compromise on requiring work requirements for SNAP recipients. Well, it's a crop that proponents say is misunderstood, and it's turning out to be a cash crop for those venturing into the field. But it's hemp now at the center of the Farm Bill debate, creating high hopes for hemp. Climbing the elevation of Colorado, local farmer Travis Hergert says the risks of farming here can be high.
There are a lot of really unique challenges in this area as far as elevation, growing days, climate, water, and just urban sprawl.
Unique challenges that are forcing some farmers to veer away from traditional paths.
We're constantly looking for different crops that we think can meet some of those different parameters.
It's one crop that's growing in popularity and at times defying popular opinion.
Well, we tripled our acreage this year.
David Asbury's growing his business in what's now an urban area as the towns of Boulder and Longmont, Colorado keep creeping in. And he's doing so by growing hemp.
This one is, kind of catching a spot in my heart because, it wants to grow.
It's a resilient crop agronomically and one that can come with high returns. Local growers say one seed costs around $1.50 to plant, and some farmers strive to plant 4,700 seeds per acre.
But on the back end, that crop can be worth anywhere from $90 to $1,000 a plant.
Hergert says it's a crop giving some farms new life.
I mean, there are guys that are really hoping to save their 4 or 5 generation farms because of this crop.
And it's that revival Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is striving toward in the 2018 Farm Bill. As a Kentucky native, he's made it clear that he thinks hemp could help Kentucky farmers survive.
Now, it's no secret I'm particularly excited about the parts of the Senate-passed bill that concern industrial hemp, and I want to recognize my friend and colleague, Congressman Comer from Western Kentucky, who, as Commissioner of Agriculture before he came to Congress, was the first Kentuckian to take a major lead role in what has now developed into a national consensus, I believe, that industrial hemp deserves a comeback.
McConnell defending hemp in the Farm Bill conference meeting this week. The Senate leader also noting he appointed himself to the conference committee, a testament to how strongly he wants to see hemp legislation succeed.
Consumers, as we all know, have been consuming hemp products for decades. It's everywhere. It's just coming from some other country.
The Senate version of the Farm Bill includes 4 key measures for hemp. First, it legalizes hemp as an ag commodity by removing it from the federal list of controlled substances. It gives states the opportunity to become the primary regulators of hemp production. The language also allows hemp researchers to apply for federal grants from USDA, and it also makes hemp eligible for crop insurance. For hemp growers, it's a move that would remove the stigma surrounding hemp production today.
Marijuana is now legalized, and with that, hemp, which is a distant cousin to marijuana that doesn't have the THC but has a lot of the medical benefits, that has also been legalized, and it's closely regulated by the Department of Agriculture through the state.
It's been demonized, for quite some time, and it has a connotation. When my mom found out that I was doing this, she's 83 years old, and all she gave me that look of like, kind of that look that people give you when they're kind of concerned, disgusted, and questioning your sanity.
As hemp producers rally around the crop, they hope the legal barriers are soon buried. And it's creating high hopes of how demand could soon soar. It's the oil in the plant that's in such high demand right now. But local growers say it's tough to find the seed to plant as there aren't any specific dealers, and the permit process is also tedious. From USDA, corn harvest is now making the weekly crop progress report. It's still in single digits nationally at 9%, 3 points ahead of average. In storm-stricken North Carolina, farmers had harvested 2/3 of the state's crop before Florence hit. Iowa is just starting harvest. Illinois is 12% along. Now, soybean harvest also getting underway at 6%. Just 3% of North Carolina's soy crop is harvested, leaving most of the state's crop at risk for storm-related damage. Likewise, just 1% of the North Carolina cotton crop has been harvested. The North Carolina Pork Council says that hog farms in the state are not experiencing widespread impacts from Hurricane Florence, but aerial footage shows at least one farm operation surrounded by floodwater. This farm is near Trenton, North Carolina. North Carolina state regulators are monitoring the threat of manure releases from hog and poultry farms in flood-prone areas. The State Pork Council says farmers activated backup power plans, and some farms are seeing damage from high winds. Bloomberg reporting major poultry and meat companies are starting to resume processing. That includes Purdue Farms and Sanderson Farms. Rain may be on the East Coast, but Harvest 2018 is underway in the Midwest. Mike Hoffman has details and crop comments.
Good morning, Tyne. In north central Indiana, some farmers are getting a head start on corn this week. Temperatures have been in the mid to upper 80s. At this farm in Stark County, Indiana, they're also doing their tillage work right away. And just east of there in Marshall County, Indiana, Dave Davenport also opened up his first field of the harvest season. Dave says other than 2012, this is the earliest start for harvest in his 30-plus years of farming. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast, not a whole lot of wind to start today, maybe in a couple of thunderstorms in the upper Midwest early. Later on in the day, parts of the west, parts of the east also getting a little bit on the breezy side. Tomorrow morning, kind of the same idea, just a few spots in the upper Midwest with the thunderstorms, and then it turns a little windy from Kansas to West Texas and much of the west as we head through the afternoon. We'll talk more about your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Still to come, all of this talk about an escalating trade war, but are the tariffs justified? That's analysis. Plus, it's a manhunt, combine style. We'll show you how this combine and drone played a vital role in tracking down a fugitive. That's later on AgDay.
AgDay, brought to you by Prosaro Fungicide from Bayer.
In agribusiness, two big moves at the executive level. Tyson Foods announced its president and CEO, Tom Hayes, will step down at the end of September for, quote, personal reasons. Tyson's board of directors saying Monday that its group president of beef, pork, and international divisions, Noel White, will succeed Hayes. Hayes joined Tyson in 2014 with its acquisition of the Hillshire Brand Company, where he was chief supply chain officer. And in 2016, Hayes was appointed president and CEO. White joined Tyson in 2001 during the buyout of beef and pork producer IBP. And from the seed chem side, DuPont has named the chief executive who will lead its agriculture business once it splits from the rest of the company. James Collins, who was COO of Dow DuPont's agriculture unit, will lead the renamed company Corteva Agriscience. Dow and DuPont merged late last year in a deal valued at close to $70 billion, with plans to split into 3 distinct companies.
Here now with Darren Hudson of Texas Tech University. Darren, when we look at trade and we look at these tariffs, do you think that the situation that's going on today is going to hurt long-term demand? I mean, are we going to see the repercussions of these trade tensions play out for years ahead?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the longer that we sit in this situation, the more reorganization of supply chains that have to happen in order to move U.S. cotton to different locations. Those sorts of things change the dynamics of the way the market will operate into the future. And so, you know, we want to be this to be as short-lived as we possibly can make it, and then move forward. But yes, these things are not one-shot deals. They play out because relationships matter in trade.
But when you look at cotton and you look at how kind of China had manipulated the market, really a few years ago, we saw cotton prices fall tremendously and really hurt local cotton producers. Do you think it is time to stand up to China? Do you think it is time to take care of what this administration is calling unfair trade practices?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are absolute political reasons for these tariffs. There's absolute, the Chinese have clearly manipulated markets over time, and trade agreements work when trade agreements are enforced, and they haven't been. And that has been a detriment to U.S. agriculture. And so we are definitely at the point where, and I think that's why ag is along for the ride at this point.
But do you think tariffs is the correct way to address those issues?
It's a dangerous game because when you're playing that game, it's like a game of chicken, so to speak. And so, I would have preferred us not to engage in that avenue, but that's the avenue that the administration chose. They want to force the Chinese to the table. They've shown some willingness to move back to the table, so I think it's having at least some effect.
Really quick though, but if we don't get this worked out quickly, what happens?
It's not good for agriculture. We need to get these trade agreements renegotiated and move forward. Otherwise, we're looking at serious deterioration in export demand.
All right, Darren, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on AgDay.
Advice, information, ideas, and more. If it's ag tech, it's in the Tech Tool Shed, your unbiased one-stop source for everything ag tech.
Welcome back. Well, time now for a check of weather. Mike, I've heard called Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Flo. Have you heard that?
No, I hadn't heard the second one, but that would be a nickname, I suppose. Yeah,
Flo must be the hip term.
I suppose so.
But
the remnants of Florence are
they?
Yeah.
They're still there and
still
impacting
some
the
rain.
East Coast.
Yeah, it still has some tropical moisture with it, but we're not talking any major problems at this point. But there it is in eastern portions of Pennsylvania right now, the remnants of Florence, and that will continue to push on eastward and finally back out into the Atlantic as a non-tropical system. We also have an area of low pressure kind of developing along the cold front along the mid-Atlantic, which will begin to produce some moisture. And along and mainly north of this stationary front, kind of a cold front in the east, warm front in the central plains, producing some showers and thunderstorms here and there, especially this afternoon. Now, heading into the day tomorrow, we're going to see some complexes of thunderstorms there, South Dakota into Iowa, the way it looks. Other than that, it's mainly dry across the country to start the day. Heading through the afternoon, there'll be a few hit and miss showers and thunderstorms just west of the Mississippi in the southern plains, and some of that activity in the southwestern portions of the country as well. Precipitation estimate past 24 hours. Most of it's been mid-Atlantic and on up into Pennsylvania, New York. Again, the remnants of Florence there. Some areas across the upper portions of the Mississippi Valley as well. And our model is really putting down some heavy amounts in some of those complexes, parts of southern Minnesota into Iowa as we head through the next 36 hours. High temperatures today going to be in the 90s from Kansas all the way down into East Texas over into southern Georgia. A lot more pleasant temperatures, especially north of that frontal system, with 60s and 70s showing up upper Midwest into the northern portions of the Great Lakes. And it continues to be hot in the southwest. Look at the low in Phoenix, 86 degrees, 70s though for most of the central and southern plain states. As we take a look at the jet stream, you can see how the ridge kind of builds in there to the central Mississippi Valley. That kind of gets pushed off to the east. We're still trying to see a little bit of a trough in the east, but it's not really coming to fruition there, so it's mainly zonal as we head through this weekend and into the early portions of next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, for Chico, California, a good deal of sunshine and pleasant today, high of 83 degrees. Taking a look at Hastings, Nebraska, lots of sunshine and hot with a high of 90. And finally, Salyersville, Kentucky, partly sunny skies and warm, maybe a shower, high 83.
Still to come, strawberry growers on high alert after someone intentionally taints the Australian crop. Details next. And technology used to monitor crops also soars into action to help cops. We'll have that APB when AgDay continues. China's growing middle class has helped generate demand for U.S. agricultural products, but the trade feud between the two countries is having an effect. Research from Rabobank shows Asia's demand for U.S. fruits and nuts has grown 4 times faster than the rest of the world. The U.S. ships about $13 billion worth of fresh fruits and tree nuts annually, with a 15% going to China. Now, China imposed a 15% tariff on U.S. fruits and nuts in April. In July, it added another 25%. Rabobank expects cherry and grape shipments will be hurt the most, with exports expected to fall more than 20%. China imports almost 80% of its almonds and nearly all of its pistachios, and the U.S. supplies more than half of that demand. Well, someone is intentionally sabotaging the Australian strawberry crop, and authorities are searching for the culprit or culprits. Public fears about sewing needles concealed inside strawberries on supermarket shelves have spread across Australia and New Zealand. Growers have turned to metal detectors. The government of Queensland state, where the contamination scare started last week, has offered a $100,000 Australian reward. That's $72,000 in U.S. dollars. The Australian government launched an investigation to restore confidence in the popular fruit following the recall. Needles have been discovered in the fruit in all 6 Australian states. No injuries have been reported. Well, it's the farming edition of Cops, and it's a combine and drone saving the day. We'll have the story next.
In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M7060, built to get the job done. See KubotaUSA.com or your local Kubota dealer for more information.
Well, never underestimate the power of a combine, And the latest technology. That's as this time a local farmer turned his combine into a powerful tool, able to end a manhunt and help local law enforcement catch a fugitive. Check this out. Sloan Implement, an equipment dealer in central Illinois, shared this video on their Twitter page. Now, a fugitive was hiding in a cornfield behind the dealership in Assumption, Illinois. So they sprung into action, utilizing a combine and a drone. The local farmer ran his combine to help flush out the suspect from the field. That's as a drone flew over to help locate the suspect, but also catching the chase on video. Nice work. Sloan shared the story, saying it was the latest edition of Crops. Pretty funny. Well, that's all the time we have on this Tuesday morning. We're so glad you tuned in. For all of us at AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan. Have a great day in Farm Country.